Every 34 seconds, someone in the United States dies from cardiovascular disease, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. That means by the time I finish this speech, roughly 10 more people will have lost their lives to it. That statistic may sound alarming, and it is, but it's also an invitation to pay attention, because heart disease affects more of us than we often realize. My goal today is to provide you with reliable, new information about heart disease, what it is, how common it is, what contributes to it, and why understanding it matters to everyone in this room. I've drawn this information from many sources, including the American Heart Association annual statistical updates and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Because heart disease is the leading cause of death for both men and women, and because many of us either know someone who has been affected or may be affected ourselves, this topic is relevant to all of us. For example, my friend Wayne was only 45 when he suffered a heart attack, and he had no prior symptoms. In the next few minutes, I will explain what heart disease actually is, how serious and how common it has become, and the key risk factors that affect us all. What is heart disease? Heart disease is a broad term. The AHA explains that cardiovascular disease includes many problems related to atherosclerosis. That is, plaque building up in the walls of arteries, narrowing them, and making it harder for blood to flow. A heart attack, for example, happens when a clot blocks the blood flow to part of the heart and the muscle begins to die. How common and serious is it? According to the CDC, in 2023, about 919,032 people died from cardiovascular disease in the U.S. That's approximately 1 in every 3 deaths. The AHA reports that cardiovascular disease deaths in 2022 in the U.S. numbered 941,652. These numbers show that heart disease is not rare. It's the leading cause of death in the United States for both men, women, and most racial and ethnic groups. And projections are even more concerning. At least 6 in 10 adults in the United States could be affected by cardiovascular disease in the next 30 years. As Dr. Keith Churchwell, president of the AHA, said in 2025, those are alarming statistics to me, and they should be alarming for all of us, because it's likely many among those whom we lose will be our friends and loved ones. Risk factors. It helps to break risk factors into those we cannot change and those we can. Unchangeable risk factors include increasing age, being male, as men have a greater risk early in life, and hereditary or family history. For example, the AHA notes that children of parents with heart disease are more likely to develop heart disease, and that the male sex is a risk because men tend to have heart attacks earlier. Some changeable risk factors include smoking or tobacco use, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, overweight and obesity, inactivity, and poor diet. For example, the AHA states tobacco use is a major risk factor for heart attack and stroke. Many of these risk factors are within our control. As Dr. Valentine Fuster, former president of the American Heart Association, said, heart disease is largely preventable. The decisions we make every day, what we eat, whether we exercise, whether we smoke, can determine the health of our hearts decades from now. This reminds us that our daily choices truly matter. Why it matters. Let me give you an example. A 60-year-old man, let's call him Mr. Johnson, had borderline high blood pressure and was overweight. But he thought, I'll deal with it later. One morning he collapsed from heart attack. This kind of story isn't uncommon. It illustrates that heart disease can affect people who think it's a problem for others, and that early detection and awareness truly matter. Furthermore, the cost burden is immense. The CDC states heart disease costs about $417.9 billion in healthcare services, medicines, and lost productivity for the years of 2020 to 2021. Culturally and socially, it's important. For example, for women, cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer, causing 1 in 3 deaths each year. Thus, The issue is personal, economic, societal, and relevant to all genders and ages. Now, today we discussed what heart disease is and how it damages the heart, how widespread and deadly it's become, and which risk factors we can and cannot change. Awareness is the first step to prevention. So let me ask you this. Do you know your blood pressure and cholesterol numbers? Knowing them might one day save your life or someone else's. As Dr. Suzanne Steinbaum reminds us, the heart doesn't care how busy you are. If you don't take care of it, it will make you stop. While I'm not here to persuade you to adopt a specific lifestyle, I will say that being aware of your personal risk factors can make a difference. Even if you have some unchangeable risks, exploring the changeable ones gives you information. And that's the goal of this speech, knowledge. Thank you for listening.